Before we begin, subscribe to this channel, because every time you do, you help me keep alive the stories of my ancestors, stories that were almost erased, stories that my family was told to protect. Now listen carefully, because what I'm about to tell you, I wasn't supposed to share. I'm not talking about something I read or something I saw online. I'm talking about something I was told growing up, because my family is Mayan, not by interest, by blood. And since I was a kid, I remember hearing the same warning over and over again. Not all knowledge is meant to be spoken. So for a long time, I stayed quiet. But today, I'm choosing to speak, because what my ancestors understood about the sky wasn't just astronomy. It was something else, something deeper. And once you understand it, you won't see reality the same way again. All my life, I've heard people say the same thing. The Mayans studied the stars, but that's not true. And I knew that, even as a kid, because what my family explained to me was completely different. They didn't just observe the sky, they read it, like a language, like something alive. I remember being told that every movement in the sky meant something. Every star, every phase of the moon, every appearance of Venus was a message, not symbolic, not poetic, precise. And here's what stayed with me the most. They didn't see the sky as something separate from us. They saw it as part of the same system, the same cycle, the same reality. And growing up, that idea never felt strange to me. What feels strange now is how disconnected we've become from it. One of the first things that really made me question everything was learning how my ancestors farmed, because they didn't follow seasons the way we do. They followed the sky. I remember asking once, "How do you know when to plant?" And the answer wasn't about weather. It wasn't about rain. It was about alignment, specific moments, exact positions in the sky. And then I learned something that honestly didn't make sense to me at the time. They could predict harvests years in advance, years. I didn't understand how that was possible, but the explanation was always the same. They understood the cycles, not small cycles, big ones. Cycles that repeat over long periods of time. Cycles that affect everything, even if we don't notice them. And now, looking back, I realized something. They weren't reacting to nature. They were moving with it. There's something I was told that completely changed the way I think about time, and I didn't understand it at first. Actually, I struggle with it, because we're taught that time is simple. Past, present, future, one direction. That's it. But that's not how my ancestors saw it. I remember hearing this idea. Time doesn't pass. It reveals. And that stayed with me, because what they believed was that time isn't linear. It's layered. Everything exists at once. The past isn't gone. The future isn't waiting. It's all already there. And the sky is how you see it. I was told that the future leaves signals, patterns, clues, and if you learn how to recognize them, you don't predict what's coming. You understand it. That's why the calendars were so precise. They weren't measuring time. They were interpreting it. Something else I grew up around were the symbols, the glyphs. And I didn't fully understand them at first. They just looked like drawings to me. But I was told something important. These are not just symbols. They're knowledge. Each one holds multiple meanings. At the same time, astronomy, nature, spiritual understanding, all in one place. And the way I learned to see them was different. I wasn't taught to read them like a language. I was taught to feel them, to interpret them, to let them speak in a different way. And here's something that still stays with me. A lot of these glyphs haven't been fully understood even today. Not because they're impossible to decode, but because we're trying to understand them the wrong way. There's one thing that was always mentioned with a different tone: Venus. I remember that clearly. It wasn't talked about like a planet. It was talked about like a signal. Something important. Something that meant change. I was told that when Venus appeared in certain ways, it wasn't random. It meant something was about to happen. Important decisions, moments of conflict, turning points. And what still surprises me is how accurate those observations were. Even today, science recognizes that. But there's something it still can't explain. How did they know? No modern tools, no technology, and yet they were rarely wrong. So sometimes I wonder, maybe they weren't missing tools. Maybe they were using something we no longer understand. I didn't find this path. I was born into it. This knowledge runs through my veins, and if something inside you is awakening right now, subscribe, because you're here for a reason. Growing up, I also heard about what was lost: the books, the codices, the knowledge that was destroyed, burned, erased, and that part always felt heavy, because it wasn't just information, it was identity, it was memory. But over time, I realized something else. The most important knowledge was never written down. It lived in people, in what was passed from one generation to the next, in things you don't learn from reading, but from listening, from observing, from being present. And that kind of knowledge is much harder to erase. There's one last thing that I didn't fully understand until much later: the connection. Because everything I was told about the sky was also about us, about what's inside, the same patterns, the same cycles existing within us, our thoughts, our emotions, our intuition. So when my ancestors looked at the sky, they weren't just observing something far away. They were recognizing something familiar, something connected to them. And maybe that's what we lost. Not the knowledge itself, but the connection to it. So now, I'll leave you with this. My ancestors weren't primitive. They were aligned with nature, with time, with the universe. So maybe the real question isn't, what did they know? Maybe the real question is, what did we forget? Because maybe this knowledge was never truly lost. Maybe we just stopped looking where they were looking. If this resonated with you, let me know in the comments, because there are still things I haven't shared yet, and some of them go even deeper than this.